Let's talk about making a new Wikipedia article. It is actually one of the hardest things you can do on Wikipedia today. Wikipedia's rules around what topics are allowed to have an article, what content is appropriate, what sourcing can be used on the site have only gotten stricter over the years. But they are applied most strictly to new entries, new requests, new update requests, things like that. This creates kind of a weird paradox where you can find older Wikipedia articles that still exist today, and you may model your draft after them and say, well, if that's all it takes and it's only those sources, I have those, and you'll find that your draft gets declined pretty quickly. That is because those older articles aren't necessarily in line with current rules. They just aren't being noticed and aren't being policed in the same way. Your new draft has to go through a very certain process. It needs to meet a few key rules. The first one is the notability guideline. The notability guideline is what decides whether a topic can have an article. There's different versions for different subjects. Sports has their own, companies and organizations have their own. They're all kind of the same, though, in their core aspect, which is they want you to have third party journalistic profile pieces about the subject of the would be Wikipedia article. So that means that you cannot use company websites, press releases, contributor pieces, has to be a staff writer, anything like that. Anything that would normally be good for your company reputation, not always good for Wikipedia. You don't have to have a ton of them, but you have to have these in depth, high quality pieces from staff writers, ideally regional, national, maybe a high quality trade publication. They also can't be a passing mention. So, you may come in and say, well, here I have, 100 pieces in the New York Times, but they're all things like company acquires X, not a profile piece. That's a passing mention, helpful for adding a detail, not helpful for meeting notability. You don't need a ton. You just need several high quality, in depth staff writer profile pieces. Cannot say that enough. The other big one is if you feel like you have that and you've met that bar, then you need to understand how to work on the site. Submitting a draft is a pretty complex process when you're actually doing it in practice because you're going to have a conflict of interest, and that means the conflict of interest rules apply. So that means that you have to disclose your connection. I'm so and so, I'm here on behalf of the brand. And you can never directly publish your own. You are allowed to draft your own. That is totally okay. A firm can help you draft it, but you ultimately propose it via articles for creation and a volunteer editor with no connection to you, your firms, your agencies, anyone. These volunteer editors, they should review it. They will decide whether it meets the notability guideline. And then if it does, they can totally edit the content of the article as much as they deem fit. And then once it reaches a point they're okay with, they take it live. As you can imagine, there's a lot of things that can go weird in this process that are difficult, that are challenging. I would recommend reaching out to a firm like Lumino at shout@luminodigital.com. I can help you understand if you are eligible today, and if you are, how to work on the site.